You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
Sounds like some bad movie.
Welcome to another episode of Moviesucktastic.
Yes, we're back.
We are back. This episode, we're going to talk about our movie challenges from the previous episode, which was my challenge to Scott was Heaven's Gate, and Scott's challenge to me was Robocop 3.
Oh, yes. Dum dum dum.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know, we'll do that now. We'll just crank it out real quick because I don't have too much to add to it.
Okay.
I don't think we spent a bit of time on this because there's so much history behind this.
Yeah.
But I think your challenge to me will be a little quicker. So we'll just.
I think so. It's kind of
it's
a brainless summer type movie.
Well, go ahead.
And it was Robocop 3.
Which I had never seen because I loved the first film and I liked the second one too.
I didn't. Well, that's the reason why I watched the third one was because I enjoyed the first and the second film.
Now you know why I didn't watch the third one? Because I saw the trailer.
Was also done by Fred Decker, who also did Night of the Creeps.
Right.
And he also did Monster Squad in 1987, which is one of my childhood favorites.
That's a mixed feeling here on the show.
But, you take that and you take Monster Squad and you think, oh, they're going to give him Robocop 3. He might actually do something halfway decent.
I remember the exact thing I thought about this because I did my research on it. And he did Night of the Creeps.
Yes, he did.
And he did Monster Squad. Both of them were cult hits.
Yes.
And in an interview once, he said, "You don't go out to make a cult film. It just happens." With RoboCop 3, they gave him RoboCop was essentially a cult film. I mean, it was a mainstream film, but it really had a cult following.
Yeah, no, it.
And so what happened was in that quote he says, "You don't make cult films. You don't try to make cult films." This happened. He tried to make a cult film with RoboCop 3.
Yeah,
you can tell with every frame he's not trying to make a sequel to a cult film. He's trying to make his own cult film. He's trying to make it his own, and he fails miserably.
Yeah, it's a really terrible film, and what could you say about it? It's got Rip Torn as the CEO. That's his name, the CEO. Yeah. He doesn't have a real name. He's just the CEO.
It's bad when the guy that played the CEO in the first two couldn't make it because he was great.
Yeah. He probably died actually. And I wouldn't be surprised if he died.
To avoid this film.
Just like Grandpa?
Yeah.
From the Lost Boys?
Yep. Hell no.
I ain't doing no Tron sequel.
The direction, there's so many bad performances in this film that it's the director's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, because you get great actors, and when they give a bad performance, it's the director telling them the performance they want. And
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like Rip Torn. He's a good actor.
I like Rip Torn.
Yeah, a lot of these people were good actors, and they were just like, yeah.
I think one of his most underrated performances has to be Summer Rental.
Yeah.
Scully's, Scully's Fish of the Day.
Yeah.
Arr.
Now, Peter Weller's not in the film, obviously.
No, the guy playing RoboCop is actually, what the hell's his name? He's the guy that was in Thinner.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name.
Now, Peter Weller turned it down because he was actually preparing to do Naked Lunch.
Oh, good choice.
And in interviews, he's even said, they couldn't offer me enough money. Nah.
He kind of disappeared, too. He hasn't made anything or been in cinema for a long, long time. Weller has just really disappeared.
Mm-hmm. I think by choice, though.
I mean, even the documentary,
Uh-huh.
Because I just got my 2-disc special edition on Swap a DVD.
Yeah, I'm still like fourth in line.
I put mine at the top at number 1 for a real long time. It took me months to get it.
I need to get my Mystery Science Theater 3000 situation sorted out.
I understand.
Then I can put other films.
But the documentary that they had for the 20th anniversary edition, which only came out 2 years ago,
right?
He's not in it. He even avoided that.
Yeah,
I really would have liked to see him in that documentary.
I think he's one of those guys who's like, I'm done. That's it.
I think so. I think he's made his money. He's made his his staple.
I think some of these guys get into the Hollywood scene and get into the acting scene, and they like acting and they like
Right.
the money, but they hit a point where, you know what, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I don't want to play the game. I don't want to.
And I think a lot of it has to do with their hatred for Hollywood. After so many years of being in it, seeing that it can be this, like you said, a game.
Yeah.
And they just avoid it. So he may come back. He may be one of those actors that comes back in his 50s or 60s, which he should be pushing in his 50s right around now,
That'd be
or
interesting.
in his 50s. He might make this comeback, like some actors do, and you never know. He might be pushing out some really good work.
Now, they couldn't afford Peter Weller, but the budget's twice as much as the original,
Yes, it is.
and it comes off looking cheaper.
Oh, it looks awful. You know why? Because they did a lot of green screen stuff in here.
It's not even the green
Whereas
screen.
in the original, it's a lot of stop motion animation. So in the original, it had some green screen shots, but mostly backgrounds, and then stop motion on top of that. So it comes out looking more authentic than this, which is a lot of green screen.
But it's not even the green screen because, the original film had that dark, gritty, even though it's super realistic.
Yeah.
Obviously not realistic,
Right.
but it has that gritty feel to it where you can buy it being a real alternate future of some kind. This one, it even starts off with the same mock parody TV news channels.
Yeah,
but even the
because
first one,
that was kind of the niche for the Robocop series.
right? And in the first film, and even the second one,
And Verhoeven has gone on to do that in other movies.
they were funny, but they didn't distract from the film.
Right.
But in this guy's version, they're just too much over the top.
It feels like a lot of filler.
Although
to be
I will,
honest.
it kind of is, but I will give him credit though. In RoboCop 3, the one thing he does do accidentally is he does predict the news media becoming a propaganda machine for the politicians.
Oh, okay.
Because we have the situation now. I won't get into it political preaching,
No.
but we're at a point now where news channels will run commercials that are basically have been commercials made by politicians or by the government and run them as news. And not say that, no, this was made by them and precisely.
Okay.
So the scenes like that where there's yeah, we're here to protect you, and the media is kind of playing them up themselves.
Right.
These days, it's like a reality. So I'll give him credit
Okay.
for that,
All right,
but
sure.
nothing else. But it's just weird how he has this twice as much money, and even with inflation, I know it's not as much.
Right.
But it comes off looking like a made-for-TV film. That's how bad he is.
Yeah, no, it really did.
Nancy Allen.
Yeah, she dies very quickly.
It was in her contract.
To get killed off?
She said the only way I'll do this film is if my character dies halfway through.
Even Nancy Allen.
Yeah.
It's like, this is pure shit.
Right.
I need out of this.
And she's done other stuff too. She's actually.
Oh, sure. She's kind of disappeared too. But
Well, she retired. She's raising her family now.
Yeah,
She's one of
so-
those. Again, some people just I'm done with it. I can move on now. I made my
sure,
money.
no, she's made her.
But she said,
Made her
only way
name.
I'm going to appear in this is if I take one.
Take one for the team.
Yeah, and this was the first PG-13 RoboCop too.
Yeah, it was. The first two were rated R, and this one, because it was a summer release, they really wanted to try and get as many people in there as possible.
Yeah, and
it still didn't work.
And you can just tell from the way he's shooting it, he's aiming for that Monster Squad crowd, meaning not stupid. Kids.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I want you to know I'm not knocking Monster Squad. He's aiming for a young audience. You can tell he's aiming for 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you've got the little girl Newt character who knows robotics, and she,
Oh, yeah, she's the best programmer I've ever seen.
and she,
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
and she's reprogramming all the robots, and of course she's helping the homeless brigade. The whole film, the plot of the whole movie is
Yeah.
a ripoff of this old film. What is it called? Future War, I think it's called.
Okay.
Where it takes place in the Bronx. MST3K did a version of it.
Oh, really?
You must leave the Bronx. You must leave the Bronx. It's basically it's a corporation that wants to level the Bronx and build a new super city on it, but the people that live in the Bronx for some reason don't want to leave, which you can understand because the place is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And so they go underground to fight it. And, it's this big laughing Italian guy, Toblerone or something like that. He's great. He's hilarious. But RoboCop 3, the whole plot is basically ripped off of this horrible film from the 80s. Which, I know RoboCop's a horrible film from the 90s, but
Early 90s,
it's
yeah.
it's a really bad ripoff of that film.
Okay. Now,
I think that's funny.
We briefly started talking about this at another time. The one black woman's character, her name in the film was something. I don't know if you remember what it was, and you said you knew exactly why they named her that.
Her name is something Washington.
Okay.
Or Here's the problem with Frank Miller. Frank Miller was selling this other stuff in this film. There's a lot of references in Robocop 3 to his other comic books.
Okay.
And he has a comic book series, the name escapes me, that has Martha Washington. And it's about like the inner city people, and they rebel against the CEOs that are taking over government. You know, Frank Miller did a lot of this in comic books, too. He did a lot of the kind of...
Bertha. That was her name.
Bertha, right. Her name is Bertha Washington, and it's a takeoff on Martha Washington from the comic book series. And he does this throughout the film. There's references... Gimme Liberty is the name of the comic book series.
Okay.
And he did this throughout Robocop 3 screenplay. There's all these references to his comic book where it's almost like he wasn't even concerned with doing the movie.
Right.
And he's not the only screenwriter. It was 2 screenwriters. I have a feeling that he did that, and he put his stuff in there.
Well, it was him and Fred Decker.
Yeah. And then Decker just changed whatever he wanted for the direction, I think.
Okay.
That's my feeling. I had no basis for this. But you can even just tell, like, Frank Miller was distracted. It was like he wasn't even writing the film. He was like, he's putting all these little nods to his own comic book.
And it kind of makes you...
Well, he's got this pattern. He does something really cool, like Robocop 2, which I still think was really good. And then he comes back and he tries to redo it again, and he completely just destroys it. He did the same thing where Sin City was great, so he comes back in as a spirit, and
I'm gonna beat you like eggs.
Frank, what are you doing? So he has this pattern of doing this. I mean, I never saw it when it came out or years afterwards because I saw Robot Ninjas and a flying Robocop in the trailer. It's like, well, I don't need to see this. No.
Until I made you watch it.
Yeah, I really can't think of... But I enjoyed watching because it's like so bad it's funny bad.
Yeah.
And you got Mr. Jameson from Talk Radio's in it.
Oh, God,
Mr. Jameson, no! Even this film, there's so many recognizable faces, so many good actors, and the Commandant from Malcolm in the Middle's in there.
Yep.
But they're all great actors and all given horrible performances. Decker destroyed them. They must as a whole hate him. I must imagine.
He hasn't done anything since.
Right, because
the only thing he's done is a documentary for Monster Squad.
And the only reason he did Monster Squad is because Night of the Creeps was a cult hit.
Yeah.
And the only reason he got RoboCop 3 was because Monster Squad was a cult hit. And instead of making RoboCop 3, he made Decker's next cult film.
Right.
And it wasn't.
And the biggest problem about that was if RoboCop 3 was actually done well and a hit, he probably would still be directing today. That kind of ruined his career, kind of like the way...
and it should have.
The kind of way Heaven's Gate ruined Cimino's career.
And it should have.
Right.
Because what happens to these guys...
How ironic is that we both picked movie challenges where the directors ruin their own careers
Isn't that
by
weird?
making bad films.
Yeah.
So, it's
funny how it comes full circle sometimes.
It really does.
I like that.
I like circles.
So we got our challenges in, so I think that's it for this episode.
I think so.
I think we wrapped it up.
Yeah. It's a bit long, but